Legion. They've attacked all around the world. In this case, we're in Seoul. They're doing some kind of plots, and you're trying to figure out what that is. This is the arc here, and this is where you can see the beginning of the plot.
So talk to us a little bit about Seoul, right? Interesting location, new to the franchise in a way. What attracted you guys to Seoul?
So we knew that Agents of Mayhem had to represent sort of a global feel. That the Legion attacked around the world, agents defend the world. So basically we wanted to choose something that wasn't in the United States or something that we had already seen typically. We liked Seoul because it was a lot of technology that we thought was going to be cool to showcase and push. And we just thought it was a cool place that we hadn't seen very much of. So.
Who's this guy? I'm sorry, I'm very fond of this guy.
Yeah, so this is one of our Legion lieutenants, August Gaunt. You might recognize him as sort of looking like another pop star you might know. But he has this device called the Get Gaunt that basically sort of hypnotizes his fans and gets them to do what he wants. So that's one of the things that Legion has to basically, or agents have to stop.
I mean, you know, any fan of this franchise is going to see this and go, okay, this is exactly where I want this to be, right? So I can tell you guys had a lot of fun with this.
Yes.
So this is a little bit different too, because the sort of animated cutscenes, is that to do with the location, or is that any significance?
We really wanted to call back to the old 80s and 90s cartoons that we grew up with, and Agents of Mayhem is based a lot on those kinds of things like G.I. Joe, and so we thought it would be cool to show a lot of the action in those 2D cutscenes and sort of have a juxtaposition to the actual in-game.
So, who are these guys that we're looking at now? Because I'm familiar with kind of building my own character, but it looks like you guys have done all the work for me here.
Yeah, well, basically, because we wanted to make this game about the various agents, we thought it was important that we made these iconic ones, and so we have 12 here in the game. We'll have more in DLC as well. But basically, each of the 12 have their own unique look, abilities, super powers, and they all have different gadgets that can change their equipment. They can also put on different costumes. So here you can see Kingpin, who actually is the Agents of Mayhem version of Pierce from Saints Row. And so here, Will's changing to different outfits for him.
Now, from what I understand, every agent obviously plays a little bit different, and that's where you're going to have, sort of the play your style, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the customization in the game is based off of not the visual customization like in Saints Row, but rather the gameplay. So you can change how all their special abilities, what their passive abilities are, all of those kinds of things. So here we have Oni, Kingpin, and Yeti. Yeti is Oleg from Saints Row, and they all have different abilities. So Oni is he does a lot of critical hits against enemies. These are assassins, Yakuza. Yeti is this sort of cold warrior from Moscow, so he's got to freeze more street tactics.
So game looks gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah. One of the things you guys did here is using that retcon ending from God Out of Hell to kind of rewrite the history of these characters.
Yep.
So this isn't Pierce as we know him.
Right. It's an alternate version of him. What the Agents of Mayhem version
is. Because this feels like a big part of the storyline, I also feel like that is going to play into some of the hilarity that is this game. Is that for me to wait and find out, or
we have a lot of cool callbacks, different things, good references that you'll see.
Yeah, how essential is it that you've played Saints Row?
You can really, if you're not familiar with Saints Row, you can be able to pick this up and know everything. You don't have to really have a lot of background because this is its own game essentially.
What kind of elements did you find kind of most successful when you guys did Saints Row that you thought you had to include here, especially for fans of the series?
Really, we thought that having the humor, the tone, that's something that Saints Row fans respond to a lot. So we have a lot of those things in here. Just the ability to kind of mayhem, right? It's in the name of the game. It's something you did in Saints Row, and so we think it's a really big thing to be able to do here in Seoul.
Well, talk to be able to inflict upon Seoul here, because Seoul is it's a beautiful, very organized, very clean city. So I'm a little worried about what you guys are going to do here.
Yeah. So basically, most of your damage is going to be against the Legion enemies, but pedestrians can get caught in the crossfire, and then really you're not penalized for killing pedestrians. We don't reward you for it, but if for Mayhem, it's important that they get the job done, not that they're necessarily saving lives.
Collateral
they're
damage
stopping,
is a thing.
They're stopping Legion. They're not necessarily saving lives.
And how many like iconic, what are the things that visitors and residents of Seoul are going to recognize? What's most important about being in Seoul for your game?
Really, we wanted to capture the juxtaposition of the modern high tech, the like building up new technology, but also like typical Asian architecture and things. Like if you went to Seoul today, you would see a lot of the same things. Maybe not this per se, but
never been to Scandals.
Yeah.
So in this case, you kind of just switch between the agents that are kind of in your squad. Okay. And then the other question is, like you mentioned, you were on the Ark, and it looked like there was some sort of I'm choosing missions or my directives there. When we're sort of like down and we've warped down, are there opportunities to branch beyond that, or am I kind of just focusing on what my mission at hand is?
Picking the mission from the Ark actually just gives you like information on where it is. At any point, you can actually decide to go and do something completely different. And
Okay.
you're not locked into that per se. It's just a quick way to like decide what you want to do before you hit Seoul.
Got it.
Well, you mentioned you have 12 characters too. Are all of them essential to the story, or can you sort of pick and choose which characters become important to your story?
So basically, as you unlock them over the course of the first few, what we call schemes of the main bad guys, you'll have access to all of them. Once you have access to it, you can play any mission, any of the main missions with any of the agents, and they have their own unique sounds, voice lines whenever they play those missions. So you kind of want to play through the missions a few times with different characters and see what they have to say about it.
And what are the other like in-game advantages to playing through these missions again and again? I mean, how are my characters going to change?
So when you complete missions, you get gadgets for your agents, and it gives you more for the ones that you're playing as, unless you've already gotten all of them. So basically, you can level up your guys by playing through the missions again, as well as getting more equipment, more skins, all the things to customize your characters more.
So there's a lot of RPG elements to this, not only for the individual characters, but for the arc as a whole, right?
Yeah, the arc itself levels up as you're leveling up your guys, as you're getting more agents, as you're conquering enemies and saving other parts of Seoul.
So across all your agents, there is sort of like a persistence leveling.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And I imagine that we're unlocking new powers or special abilities.
Yep, they all have their own special abilities, and they'll unlock new gadgets that can modify them, as well as they'll get new abilities that allow them to hack better or take out different kinds of shields. So,
Excellent.
Yeah, it doesn't look like these abilities are limited to combat. You're able to fire these off just completely
whenever you want.
Whenever you want, whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, and we have got some Gremlin tech, which I don't know if you've had a chance to use that yet, Will, but...
Will, use the Gremlin tech, Will. Is that the Gremlin tech?
Blow this one. Blow stuff up.
All right, Will, so I've known you many years. You've played a lot of games in your time. What's your favorite thing about Agents of Mayhem here?
So it's really about the different agents that you can use. You can kind of hone your squad about in two different ways. If you want to play it on an easier difficulty, then you're choosing agents based on the personality type that you like. Mm-hmm. But if you're playing on the really hard difficulties, that net you more experience, net you more rewards and loot, because really there's some cool grinding elements to be able to do resource gathering and building within the arc. If you're playing on those hard difficulties to get the hardest resources, then your player choice is about strategy and combining elements. So I can freeze him and then change to Oni and do a bunch of headshots and take him out.
When you talk about some of the resources and sort of things, like what do what kind of things will we actually be sort of building or constructing if or leveling up?
Yeah, you can build more Gremlin tech once you get access to the schematics. Also, all of the gadgets, or all the agents have what we call Legion tech modification. So they basically, as you're killing enemies, you get materials from them, and then you can build these special schematics which will modify the behavior of the gadgets and the agents themselves. So it's like an extra layer.
Can you describe what Gremlin tech is for people?
Yes, so Gremlin is, she's one of the base agents back at the Ark, and she builds all the technology for Mayhem. She also builds these sort of side things that she uses for fun or to power your guys up, and she gives you access to them, and you can build up more versions of them as you collect the materials. And a lot of the kind of funnier Saints Row weapons that you've seen, we have a lot of those in
That was
Gremlin
going to be my next question. You know, you mentioned you had some throwbacks, and there's a lot of, I think, weapons that people had tons of fun with in previous Saint Rows.
Yeah.
So it's possible we might see some alternate versions.
Yes,
of those.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Can you spoil any for us? Just one. Just one.
Well, we have the bowling ball, which is basically just bowling ball, energy ball, basically, and knocks all the enemies out of the way.
Yeah, that was the weapon I was asking about.
Yeah.
Thanks. The bowling ball. So, I mean, it looks like you've also combined like a lot of the different types of gameplay elements here. I love the racing. I love that you're sort of seamlessly moving through all these different ways to achieve here. Are different agents going to get different experiences in different situations? Like, you mentioned wanting to switch out to kind of maximize your party and your RPG elements.
Yeah, again, like depending on what happens, they'll respond differently to different things in the missions. But other than that, they also have their own personal missions and unlock missions. So you have to do an unlock mission to get access to them, and you'll learn a little bit about who the agent is, why they're in Mayhem, why they want to fight against Legion. And then they all have a personal mission, which basically will tell you a little bit more about their story, a little bit more about how they relate to Mayhem or Legion.
Mayhem.
So to that point, if I'm like, let's say I complete a mission and I say to myself, actually, if I would have used this different squad, I could have done it much better. That's like totally an option for me to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
We want people to figure those things out and apply them.
Oh my god!
No,
what are you doing,
where
Will?
are the children?
They were
it's
just
supposed to
dancing.
be a ray. Like, oh.
I think they were probably a little too close to Legion. They must have been brainwashed.
They were dancing. Dancing is forbidden.
So at this point, you're actually like trying to track down the sort of maybe the final boss of the mission?
Yeah. So basically, our pop star August Gaunt, he's sort of giving you the runaround, and you're trying to track him down. You've come to this what we call the Temple Fortress area, and he's supposed to be somewhere in here. So as you can see, Will sort of scanning, getting a little information about where he might be, and trying to he found something interesting.
Something stinks here.
Yeah. So basically, you get his August Gaunt's cologne.
And is Friday your sort of
she's another one of our
operator?
base agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Base
So
agent.
she's one who sort of deploys you, gives you sort of information about what's going on. All the base agents will interact with you and tell you a lot of stuff, but Friday's sort of the main one to really get you going.
So
Follow the stink.
Anoop, with August Gaunt, he's obviously a pop star. Did you just create a pop star, or are there songs in game?
Yeah, so our audio guys actually wrote a few songs for this game, including some for August Gaunt, and I mean once you guys hear them, we can't stop laughing.
So the
when
new
we hear
summer
them.
hits.
Yeah.
Do you know a couple names?
That's great. That's great.
Can you sing one or two for us, Anoop?
No, you don't. You do not.
One of
want me
them.
to
If the audio guys were here,
Yeah,
Rachel,
you're right. I'm sorry.
One of them's called like chewing gum till I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Peeps.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I need this CD.
So here he's got like a hologram. He sort of tricked you.
Oh, I thought he was on one
He
of
left
those
his fidget spinner on.
hovercrafts.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's going to start on fire and then the mission's over.
So, I mean, we talk a lot about what you can do in this game. Like, what are going to be my constraints as I go about these missions as a player? Are there, like, a lot of, like, time trials? Are there a lot of just sort of, like, what am I not able to do here? And how does that also serve to forward the story?
So each lieutenant has sort of their own part of the scheme that they're carrying out, and you'll sort of tackle them one at a time. There's a lot of variety in what you're doing when you're fighting them. They all have their own unique sort of takes and things that they do. So like August Gaunt is sort of he's got his music that he's brainwashing people with. So you end up fighting a lot of brainwash people.
Does she have glow sticks? Are those like glow stick ninjas actually?
Those are they're energy knives basically.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was a rave ninja too.
I mean, right? It's
There are rave
all
guys.
the rave, right?
You will see those in these missions, but.
That's good.
But yeah, some of them will require driving. Some will require a lot of combat. There's a lot of traps in there. We have Legion layers. These are underground bases that they've established throughout Seoul. You'll go and explore and find a lot of their activity in there, and they have a lot of tricks and that's their home base. So you have to be a lot more careful when you're in those areas.
So can you talk to us a little bit about like how sort of mission failure works? right? It's always kind of interesting, right? Like I'm like, oh, I messed up. I want to go in with a new squad, right? Is it you? Hey, you're not getting any rewards or anything from doing that.
Actually,
you go back
one
to the
second.
arc. I'm not suggesting.
I'll explain.
Are you
that in a
failing the
second.
mission? Will?
No,
Is
this
that-
is
okay.
this is Kingpin's ultimate ability. He basically calls down this boombox, and any enemy that in that circle around
love
will basically start dancing.
What a great. So everyone's got like unique dances and stuff
Yes,
too.
each enemy type has its own
Wow.
dance.
So those mayhem abilities, every agent has
Has-
their own specific mayhem.
Yep. And then you can get gadgets which will modify them as well.
And do you add to those as you power up, like, or is it just kind of the one specific one, and then you're modifying that one?
You modify
or?
that one, and then but you can change the modification anytime you want.
Well, we can go into squad and show you a little bit
Yes,
of that.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah, I
great.
was curious about.
So if I go in here and I look at my upgrades, you can really upgrade the minutia of every character and take them and really customize them to your individual playstyle. So it's not necessarily just about that individual character that you like. You can like a specific modification of an individual character to really customize their gameplay the way that you want to play them.
And if I mess up, I can just,
You can totally
Refund
reset
the
in.
point.
and I don't have to like
There's no
collect
cost.
10,000
No.
mayhem bucks or something. All right.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
that's a 10 points for
Yeah.
fun right
That
there.
is.
Like,
It is.
thank
Like,
you.
I hate the way this plays.
I don't
Yeah, no,
wanna
we
work.
want people to experiment and try different things out, so we don't want to penalize you for making choices
That's
like that.
that's as a game player, thank you. Yeah, that's
So,
good.
I mean, you've been working hard on this game, and I know, like, everyone who works on a game puts a little piece of special love in there. Like, what are we looking for from you? Did you hide, like, you know, a special little picture in there? Did you put a side mission in for us? What is your little piece of your soul in this game?
I mean, for me,
Soul.
like,
Get
I
it, Will?
really, I really like. For me, the having the different agents and the different ideas for them. Like, I didn't come up with all of them myself or anything like that. But being able to come up with this idea and really push this idea of this multinational agency that goes around stopping these bad guys. I feel like we did a great job of the team did a great job of pulling that off, and that's to me is like, I have no favorite agents. I love most of them, and whenever we do play testing, we have people tell us what are your favorite agents, which ones you dislike, and there are different answers across the board.
That's great.
That's like
I think
there's no
that's-
like clear favorites or people ones that people hate entirely. So that's for me the most exciting thing about making this game.
That's great. I mean, first off, thank you again for bringing a live demo to us. Is there any place over the course of the week, if someone's coming to the expo, that they can come and maybe check this out themselves?
Yeah, so we'll have a bunch of kiosks on the Square Enix booth. So
Okay.
definitely come check us out. We'll have people manning there. I'll probably be there a little bit too, and yeah, we definitely look forward to having people come and check out the game. We're super excited.
Yeah, and there's one other thing we just wanted to kind of go over is we were talking about how this game really takes a lot of elements from Saints Row
Yes.
and brings them to this audience, because this isn't the next Saints Row, but it's by the same developer, and there's obviously a lot of characters. You look at Kingpin, you look at Oni, and then there's a character we just announced last week that we're bringing, which a lot of fans are really excited about. We're bringing Johnny Gat as a playable character.
Yeah.
And Anoop was talking about earlier that when you bring a new character to the game, it's not just a skin or something. When you bring a character to a game, to this game specifically, it's over a couple of thousand lines of dialogue.
Right.
It's their individual agent missions, which is initial 2 hours of content. You have their unlock missions, their story missions, their individual weapons and vehicle skins. So there's a lot of content that comes with adding individual playable characters.
And I don't know that we mentioned this, but so I'll kind of get an intro to each agent as I go through, and we'll play. Okay, that's
so
great.
those 2D animatics that you saw, because you saw the intro to Star Power, which is the I had to force my way in there. But the intro to Star Power, which is introducing you to August Gaunt. There's those 2D animatics, which goes to that comic book style,
Right.
for every individual character when you're intro to them.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, every lieutenant has their own introduction like that, and as well as every agent.
It's your boy Gone.
Oh, I mean, I know that fans of sort of the characters of the world that exists in, you know, it's silly and it's great at the same time. It offers a lot of action as well. And
You based this off Will, right? That's hilarious.
So I had to get the August Gaunt haircut.
I know you have that blanket.
Are there any additional details in terms of like when players might get their hands on this, consoles and platforms, and do we have that?
August 15th, right? Or
August 15th in the United